For my Lest We Forget project, I have decided to cover the story of Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton was a founding father, and in addition to that, he helped to draft the Constitution, fought in the Revolutionary War, and was the first Secretary of Treasury. He also founded the American financial system by establishing a national bank. Alexander Hamilton remains controversial because his ideas on a central government often clashed with well-known Thomas Jefferson. He also sparked intense debate about economic equality and much more. Alexander Hamilton was born January 11, 1757. When he was a child, his father, James Hamilton, abandoned him and his mother. His mother, Rachel, later opened up a shop, and Alexander began working at the age of 11. When Alexander was 14, him and his mother got sick. His mother sadly passed away, but he survived. He was forced to move with his mother's relatives. He was later sent to a preparatory school, and in 1773 he began studying at King's College in New York. He was very smart and successful in school, but he had a great passion for the brewing revolt against Great Britain. While Alexander was in New York, he wrote many pamphlets that opposed Samuel Severy. This was between 1774 and 1775. During the Revolutionary War, Alexander Hamilton fought at the battles of Kips Bay, White Plains, Trenton, and Princeton. In the beginning of 1777, George Washington invited Hamilton to be on his military staff, and Hamilton became a lieutenant colonel. During this time, Hamilton wrote letters to Congress, state politicians, and other Continental Army officers. Alexander Hamilton married Elizabeth Schuyler, the daughter of Philip Schuyler, in 1780. In 1781, Hamilton was dismissed from Washington's staff after a dispute with General Charles Lee for his lack of field command. After Hamilton was asked to return for the Siege of Yorktown, he became a New York delegate for the Confederation Congress. While serving as a delegate, he proposed an idea of a new U.S. Constitution. So Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison joined to write a series of essays to defend the U.S. Constitution, known as the Federalist Papers. They planned on evenly dividing 25 essays among the three men, but in the end, they wrote 85 essays in the span of 6 months. John Jay got sick after writing 5, James Madison wrote 29, and Alexander Hamilton was responsible for writing the other 51 essays. In 1789, George Washington became the first U.S. president, and Hamilton became his Secretary of Treasury, or you can say his right-hand man. Also in 1789, Thomas Jefferson returned from France and became the Secretary of State alongside House Representative James Madison. Hamilton aimed for the national government to assume state debts, but Jefferson and Madison opposed of this idea. In 1795, Hamilton resigned but remained politically active by helping Washington write his farewell address. Washington passed away in 1799, and Hamilton developed a senior ranking. In the election of 1800, Thomas Jefferson ran against Aaron Burr, and the people wanted to give the election to Burr. Hamilton opposed of Burr winning, so he endorsed his enemy, Thomas Jefferson. After the endorsement, Aaron Burr felt betrayed and challenged Alexander to a duel in Weehawken, New Jersey. On July 11, 1804, Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr rode across the Hudson at dawn with their seconds. They were near the same spot that Hamilton's son died, and when Hamilton aimed his gun at the sky, Aaron Burr struck him right between his ribs. They rode Hamilton back across the Hudson, and his wife Eliza and her sister Angelica were at his side when he passed away. Alexander Hamilton loved to talk and write. As you can see in the musical, Hamilton always felt the need to get his point across. Despite all the good he did for the country, Hamilton was very damaging to himself. Hamilton had a drive like no other, and he leaned on his need for recognition of his worth and honor. Alexander was intolerant of opposing ideas, and this is what cut his life short. Aaron Burr was the complete opposite. Throughout their time knowing each other, Burr persistently warned Alexander about the power of his words. Alexander did not listen and continued to be abrasive and prideful. In conclusion, Alexander Hamilton is mostly recognized for his role in creating America's financial system, but he remains much more than that. He was a bright man who ran out of time. Coming from a rough childhood, all he wanted to do was make a name for himself and prove his worth. His dear wife, Eliza Hamilton, lived another 50 years to tell the story of Alexander Hamilton. She was completing the task that Alexander ran out of time to do. Every time you see a $10 bill, look to see who's on it and remember why he's there.